Hello and welcome back. As usual, this is Becca going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow when online, with the exception of a couple of games, but most of the time it's those. And we're here to do another week talking about Linden scripting language. When I put up a couple weeks ago the first video where I showed about how to detect if an avatar was in a given area, and I showed off my Rezzer control my black box Rezzer room, I got a request to go into a little more detail about how that worked and exactly what that system does. And I was asked if it's like some of the old temp Rezzers back in the day, and in some ways, yes it is. In some ways, no it's not. Temp Rezzers, for those of you that are unfamiliar, when I did the bit with the little tennis balls thrown at the target, I showed you about temp, where we create the object, and we can set it to temporary, and it will automatically delete itself at a certain point. And you see right here, remaining land capacity, 389. I turn it temporary, it goes up to 390. Temporary objects do not count against your maximum land capacity. That's what made those temp rezzers so useful back in the day. You could have some of your furniture or the build of your house or what have you be rezzed temporary and have it not count against your sim. Now, I found some things don't necessarily work that smoothly. It's not always completely consistent. I think some mesh objects don't do that because Linden Labs is trying to prevent that from being exploited to excess, because temporary objects still have the same amount of impact on the server that a regular object does. It's just not counted. So what people would do is they would set it up to constantly res that object back into place just slightly faster than it would delete itself, like it just did right there. So you had the effect of having it there. I actually used it myself back when I had a much smaller parcel on the mainland. But that is not exactly what my system does. What my system does for efficiency is only leaves things in place when needed. And I forgot I don't have my Wishmaster HUD on, so I want to quickly throw that on so I can get around to some of my saved locations a little easier. I could easily set up a permanent thing to do that, but I really like that visual effect. So we're going to take from the list. Let's do the Eaton stairs. You'll see pieces appearing and then disappearing, and that just vanished itself. What that did is that little box was just a convenience. That little box contained all of the pieces that I just showed off. And I'll actually show you where that particular part goes to. Essentially, what I have is I have scripts set to run on res, basically when the object comes into existence. And that is this place right here. It's tucked away, so it's not a thing that I would see all the time. So if it's not there, a player going around the sim normally would never notice. And I use that detection system I've taught you about over the past couple of weeks to tell, is there an avatar present inside this world space? If there's not, after a certain amount of time, a certain number of checks, it will automatically delete itself. So that's how I'm getting efficiency out of it, is I'm not making it temp res. I am making it so that it only appears when it's needed. So the doors will automatically check to see if it's here. That's why I got teleported inside this space very quickly. If not, it would have left me attached to the door for a minute while it rezzed it into place and then teleported me in. Now, the key parts to having this work, I've already taught you a few videos ago about rezzing. Recently, I taught you about avatar detection. So the other part to consider is placement. When we were discussing doors and teleports, I went over a set region position, which is the key part of this. Now I'm going to create a small demonstration of using set region position along with an onRez command to show you the core of how this works. And we'll just head back to the res room and shut down my portals. Alright, so for this demonstration, we're going to start with a Mark 1 cube. Now, one of the most important things for making this work is it has to know where to go, and it has to be able to hold on to that information. So we're going to create a script right quick here. Set object description, DESC for short, string to cast this as a string, get position, now in order to get that, there we go, that wrote into the description of the object the coordinates of its current position inside the sim. And that also is a good thing. If you're going to deal with scripts that may have to be reset periodically, but you want to preserve certain information, that's a good way to do it, is to record it in either the name or the description of the prim. Then we're going to create another script. We don't actually need these. On res, there we go, integer rezzed, because it is possible to send a simple numeric command to a object as it is rezzed. We're not going to do that this time, but it is a thing you can do, and I do use it in the larger Rezzer just for my own convenience, but I'm not going to go into all of the detail on that part right now. That would make this way too long a video. So what we want is, let's do this as though we're going to be doing a lot more with it. Let's put it up here. Vector, posit, because position, actually position's valid. We'll use that. Or pose. POS is the frequent shorthand for that. Vector, position. Then pose equals vector, because we need to cast it back into a vector. Get object description. And then set position. Now this will only trigger on res if I were to res that object out into the world somehow. So it's not going to do anything right now. Let's give it a name. Makes it easy to keep track of in my vast, spacious inventory. Position demo. Yes, I know I put in too many M's. Didn't seem to respond. It moved a little bit, but it didn't seem to respond. So let's see why. It didn't give us an error when it rezzed, so that isn't the direct problem. So say 0. Okay, it does in fact get that. Let's try an experiment. There we go. It actually did move to the correct position. I just wasn't setting it far enough away to see any dramatic change. There it went. Automatically popped over there. Let's make that a little easier to keep track of. This little change will be for the benefit of us humans, not for the benefit of the program. By putting that delay in there. There we go. Now you can actually see it jumping to position. Now, the thing is, set position has limitations. There's a limit to how far it can move. So if you want something you can actually track, like if you're testing something and you want to actually keep track of it as it goes, then what you'll want to do is have this go through bit by bit instead of jumping straight to. Now, granted, we're not far enough away for that to matter, so let me show you what I mean by making sure I res one much farther away. There we go. It wasn't able to make the entire distance. Please ignore all this spam. That's just because I'm still monitoring the black box here in the sim, and it gives me feedback of what it's doing. That's not actually relevant to our lesson today. But you see here that this box wasn't able to make the entire trip. That is because it has a maximum of 10 meters it's able to move. Now, if you want to leave it with that restriction, but still have it make its move, then we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to cut that out. Cut that out. Adding in the vector where is just for comparison's sake. If where does not equal position, set position, position. Else, set timer, event 0. Actually, let's do more than just that. I have arrived. And there, piece by piece, it went to its correct position. Now, if you notice when I created the stairs, the pieces just appear and vanish. They don't seem to spend any time traveling. That is because instead of set position, region position. This overcomes that 10-meter limit. And just a few, there it goes, just popped into place. And determined that it has arrived. It got there in one jump this time instead of 3. Comparing that to this one, which took 3 jumps to get there. Next week, I will go over similar work with position and tying them together along with a container system, because that's how that works for convenience. I put the entire scene I need to create inside a container. When that container is rezzed into the world, it then rezzes its individual pieces. And there's a few other steps it goes through to make sure everything stays on one page conveniently. But we'll continue working on that come next week. Until then, again, this has been Becca going by Netcat or Netcat's Meow Win Online. And as always, good day, good luck, happy coding. And we'll have videos like this ready every Tuesday by noon Eastern Standard Time. Oh, that's right. I may actually not have a video up next week. I've got a whole lot going on this coming weekend. So I might not get it recorded. I will try to get it taken care of. But if I miss this week, letting you know in advance, it's possible that I'll miss it. I'll try not to, but it's possible. Anyway, take care. Good coding. Bye-bye.